The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
Let's go, baby!
Are you ready for a break?
Yes.
Are you ready for a break?
Absolutely.
Ready for a break?
Yeah, and so much for that.
It's time for The Break on DallasCowboys.com
We were on a break!
with Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Ambar Garcia, and Derek Eagleton.
It is Monday, November 28th, 2022, Season 18, Episode number 78. Welcome to the latest edition of The Break. We're live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star, and we are presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And Cowboys get a win Thanksgiving Day. It seems like that was forever ago, but we're going to break it down for you guys. I'm going to tell you what we thought of that game. Cowboys win 28-20 over the Giants. We'll start with the story of the game, but I do actually want to take it a little different direction, specifically for you, Nick, because I thought you had a really interesting article last week coming out of that game where you said you thought this was actually an even more impressive win than the victory over the Minnesota Vikings the week before. Explain.
I do. I think that you're not going to beat teams by 37 points in the playoffs, and especially on the road.
It'd be fun, though.
It'd be fun, but it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Especially if it's Tampa.
Yeah.
Right.
You're not a 5 seed's not going to go and play a division winner and do that. Well, maybe if it's Minnesota,
I was going to say, maybe you match up with Minnesota?
You know that's not going to happen again like that. And for whatever reason, they kind of rolled over. The Giants don't roll over. They fight. That's what they are. That's why they have the record they do. And I just think that when penalties are mounting up and your offense is struggling and you got to figure out a way to turn the tide, that's what happens in the playoffs. And they were able to do that. It was not pretty, but they were able to do that. And I just thought that type of grind-out game is what this team is going to need, to be battle-tested to win in the playoffs. To me, is a little bit more impressive. The Giants have already seen you before. They've seen your tricks. They haven't seen Dak. And this offense is starting to click a little bit. They've seen plenty. They've seen more than they want to see.
Wow, they're probably tired of Dak at this point.
Isn't that ironic? I mean, 2016, his first 2 losses were against the Giants.
Yeah.
Sandwiched around like an 11-game winning streak. Like, he can't beat the Giants. It's like, well, I'm not losing to them ever again.
Ever.
Yeah.
So what was the story of the game for you, Amber?
I don't know. I have a hard time agreeing with what Nick just said.
In what way?
Not to all of it. It's just, to me, this game, everything was in the Cowboys' advantage. And they couldn't get out there and start strong. Like, similar to what we saw in Minnesota. I think that's super, super key to them. Is just having an offense that can start strong. And to me, when you look at everything that, like all the players that were out, that were hurt from the Giants, this is a game they should have gone in and dominated to begin with. The thing is, the Cowboys, to me, a lot of the times, and they do this a lot, they'll start off bad, and then they come in, second half of the game, play well. And a lot of the times, it not always works in their advantage, because sometimes it's like too late. And you face teams, for example, let's just say, just an example, I didn't think that game went down the same way that I'm trying to use as an example, but Green Bay, when you get someone like that can't finish you at the end of the game and win in the last few minutes, seconds of the game, that's a problem. And a lot of the times the Cowboys fall short in those type of situations. In this instance, they were able to beat out the Giants, and they had every reason to. But if they play against a better team that it's not the Giants, someone else, I don't even know who to use, but whoever else, this is a game that they could have easily lost, because by the time they kind of get their gears moving, sometimes it ends up being way too late.
Yeah, I think you made some really good points, because to me, it's like they turned the ball over 3 times in the first half. If you think about the interceptions and then the turnover on downs, and I thought you were really fortunate. I know in our situation on the radio, I was doing the halftime, and I'm like, man, I'm grateful you're only down 7 in this one right now for where it's at. But the thing that you have to like, it looked like a team that had played 3 games in 3 games in 12 days, And sometimes you just have to survive these games. Sometimes you just have to survive the matchup. Sometimes you have to take advantage of the of the other team being really beat up and hurt and all that. And to Ambar's point, you've seen this team start out fast. You have seen him start fast and being able to kind of get things together and get it going. And then at other times, they're falling behind, and you're just kind of like, well, what's the deal? Why is there? And I think it's all about the consistency, and I think they lack it. I just feel like that at times it's like, you have better players than them, and you don't do enough early to kind of to take their will away in this football game. I mean, you encourage like the Giants to stay around in this game, and maybe this team plays to a little bit of the level of the teams that they play. To me, what's so disheartening is you wake up today and you're the only team in the NFC East that didn't beat the Packers. It's stuff like that kind of, when you look back on it, well, man, they should have won that game, should have won this game. Oh, hell, they beat Minnesota. I mean, I just think the consistency or the lack of is a problem for this football team right now.
But I will say this, and I saw a lot on Twitter the day of the game. There were a lot of fans that agree with you, Amber, that, man, here we go, this team again. They can't really handle prosperity, all those kinds of things. But I just, as I watch, and I sat and watched football all day yesterday, and when you watch the NFL, that's the NFL.
It's tough.
Like, I don't care who you are. I don't care how good you are. The Kansas City Chiefs are going to have those Sundays where it's just not clicking. They find a way to win, like they did yesterday, like the Cowboys
Ravens
did on
found
Thursday.
a way to lose yesterday.
Right,
Yeah,
and they did, right,
yeah.
and they found a way to lose. But
Yeah.
the point is, it's close, and I don't think fans always appreciate just how close the NFL is.
Yeah.
You got 3 or 4 teams that are really, really bad. Okay, I'm not saying the Texans are in the category with all these other teams. There are a few teams that are just really, really bad. There are 1 or 2 teams that are really, really good. Everybody else, the margin between them is very, very slight. And so from that standpoint, I look at it, and I kind of agree with you, Nick. I think the Cowboys did what they needed to do. Oh. They didn't have it early on. They had some mistakes early on. They figured it out. They figured out how to gut out a win. That, to me, is just as valuable as not.
So this is before your time a little bit, but you guys remember the game. I mean, it's all about perspective. Did you think Tony Romo had a good game against the Bills back in 2007?
But he figured out how to win.
5 interceptions.
Troy Aikman said that was the best game he's ever played. He had 5 interceptions. He lost a fumble. They rallied. They figured out a way. They rallied and won the game by 1. And so it's all about perspective. And we say all this stuff about teams. Cowboys not starting fast, and they don't, because I tell you who doesn't start fast against them. That's the other team. I mean, I think we're downplaying. That's a pretty remarkable feat that they have not given up a first quarter touchdown this year. I mean, that's 11 quarters. Think about just any game, 11 quarters without giving up a touchdown. I mean, that's almost. I mean, that's almost 3 games.
It's almost like the 49ers.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about this week, the 49ers, they have 11?
49ers haven't given up a touchdown like in the second half in the last 7 games or something like
it's
that.
something crazy.
That's amazing.
And they shut out a team this weekend. So
Yeah. Who's their quarterback again? Who was quarterback of the Saints? I mean, I don't.
It was
Dalton, right?
Andy Dalton.
Yeah. Andy Dalton.
Yeah, they're Saints are trying to give the Philadelphia Eagles the first overall pick in the draft. They're trying.
They're trying so
They really
hard.
are trying hard to do that. I don't know
that they
why
have the
they
Saints.
are,
Yeah,
but they are.
right. Yeah.
And the Eagles don't need a quarterback.
No.
They're not going to get a
They
quarterback.
don't need any more talent.
Well,
like, they're good.
what's going to happen
They're
is
gonna top pick of the draft.
I know this is down the road talk. Eagles will move that pick and get another first round pick for the next year. They'll just keep rolling it, keep rolling it.
Or leverage it into 2
Exactly.
picks. I get
Exactly.
They just
Exactly.
somehow they figure out how to make that work.
No, let's be honest. It's a game we all thought that the Cowboys would win. Even no one going in about all the things. It's just it is. When you talk about how this team is able to kind of flip it in the second half or a drive, they're able to flip it, and then it's able to make plays in the second half, and it makes you wonder. You're kind of going like, okay, where was this earlier? Where was this? Why wasn't the start like this? And maybe it has something to do with like I mentioned, 3 games in 12 days. Sometimes you don't practice. Me personally, Dak running around, checking everything. I know he said dummy calls and all that stuff like that. Honestly felt like he was trying to get him in the best play possible with no practice. I think he probably was looking at the offense and like going, okay, guys, this is what I know we can do. And this look right here, guys, he's moving guys around, he's checking, he's doing all, and you're kind of like, man, this just looks more than normal. And I'm sitting there thinking, they hadn't practiced all week. He's just trying to get him in the best damn play they can to run. So, there's a lot that goes in. Maybe that's one of the reasons why they didn't start very quickly in this game is because they just don't practice very much for this Thanksgiving Day game.
Now, looking at that just
Can
to
I say something real
Sure,
quick?
go ahead.
To me, and I want to make sure, and 1,000% credit to them for being able to come back into the second half and finishing the game the way that they did, given the ridiculous amount of penalties that they had. I don't even know what the total was at the end of the game, but it was way too many. My problem is right now with the Cowboys is that sometimes it feels like they take 2 steps forward and then 1 back. You're still ahead. You're still moving forward, but it's like it's never again. And I think that's the one word that people are using when describing the Cowboys right now is that consistency aspect of the whole thing. Is can they be consistent enough to kind of keep repeating the same type of game week after week? And that's the biggest problem is that when you see Minnesota, that game is like perfect. And you can't expect the game to go like them to play like that every single week. That's not
But
realistic.
they showed they were capable of it.
Exactly. But at the same time, it's not necessarily realistic. But then again, it's just little aspects of the game that you're like, okay, you did this, and then now you step back again. And it's just that consistency part of it that is just very frustrating, especially, again, when you look at everything we talked about during the week, what the Giants currently were heading into that weekend. You should have just dominated them.
If they beat the Packers, they figure out a way to win that in overtime. Do you think that they're 9-2? You think the Cowboys are 9-2? You think they beat the Packers and then beat Minnesota and the Giants?
You're thinking that maybe they split the.
I don't think so.
They split the Green Bay Minnesota game, something like that.
I think emotion matters, and I think the way they came back and beat Minnesota was a reflection of the last week in Green Bay. And I think if you tell Aaron Rodgers you're going to go 1-3 in the NFC East, he's going to be like, well, we better beat the Cowboys. We better beat Mike McCarthy. I mean, I think there's a reason why they're certainly not getting Jordan Love in the second half like the Eagles got. I mean, that's just the way it's gone.
Yeah. I don't think they destroy Minnesota if they beat Green Bay. I just still think they beat Minnesota just because I think Minnesota is a great matchup for the Cowboys and not a great matchup for Minnesota. I think that was a game that just,
Most people don't understand that what you just said. I really think that the fans don't think about, even not just fans, think about it like in the media. They're like, all right, who's top 5 teams in the NFC? Mm-hmm. You're like, for who?
Right.
I tell you, I don't know where Washington ranks on this list, but Washington's a bad matchup for a lot of teams.
Yeah.
They don't let you run the ball.
Right. Washington and San Francisco are the 2 teams I think are the worst matchups of playoff NFC teams for the Cowboys, and they don't have the best record in the NFC.
No, and that's the problem that I believe that the Commanders have won 2 games now on the goal line, defending the goal line. I think they beat the Bears defending the goal line, and they just went and they beat the Falcons. So they've won 2 games having to it got down to the point I was listening to the game driving around, and I'm sorry, I'm talking about the Commanders here. It got down to the point where the Atlanta announcers are like going, well, maybe they let you score, and then you're thinking, because you're riding that line of do you let them score to get the ball back with a minute to go and all that? And then you're like, hell no, play defense. And see, play defense led to an interception. Mm-hmm. I will say this about the Cowboys, though, something they are consistent at, and that's getting penalized. That part of it, I don't think that'll ever change. I don't think that'll change. The pre-snap penalties and stuff like that. Concentrate. You talk about it all the time. You could talk about it. You could have officials. You could stop practice. You could yell at everybody. You can make everybody run laps. This team will continue to be the most penalized team in the league. It just will. Mike McCarthy. You can honestly hear the frustration in his voice after the game when he's talking about it, and it's something that every time it's like he's probably going, "What more can I do? What more can I do to stop this team from being penalized? And I think that's – I just think we need to stop talking. No offense to you, Ambar, but I think that this – they're just not – it's not going to change. It's just not going to change.
And that's fine. I mean, no, it's not fine, but – and we see them in every game. Usually there's something. And I'm not saying that it's going to go completely away. But when you see in this specific game back-to-back, it's like, again, here we go again and again. And it was just, again, I don't remember how many there were, but it just seemed ridiculous, the amount of times that it happened and the amount of times that it happened back to back to back. So that was, in that aspect, it's just like, what can you do at this point? I guess not much.
They had, I want to say it was 4 false starts in this game. And there were a lot of holding calls, which going to the game, Nick, you mentioned
the one on Martin was awful, by the way.
Yeah, I know. But, Nick, you mentioned before the game, you said that this crew is a crew that is notoriously like they are one of the most punitive teams when it comes to calling penalties. They call them all the time, and they call a lot of them. So we went into the game thinking this was going to be a heavily
13 for
heavily
86.
Yeah, and then you had the Giants had 7. So it was very similar.
Penalties.
It was 7. It was very similar to what we saw last year on Thanksgiving, where it was just penalty after penalty after penalty. So, and I do agree. The false start ones, the one that are pre-snap, Dallas has to clean it up. A lot of the holding calls, that becomes a matter of, those are the kind of calls to me that are about, was it really holding? Like it's a call that's not necessarily black and white like a false start is. Yeah. And I would venture to say, just from my perspective, about half of those holding calls, I'd be like, I don't know if I necessarily agree.
The Giants had a really bad penalty on them.
The legal man downfield was kind of questionable.
That was questionable, but the one that saved the drive for the Cowboys was CD over the middle. They called defensive holding, and they called it really late too. And when the receiver doesn't even complain, every receiver complains about getting held or PI, and he was walking off the field like, it's 4th down, and then they called a hold at the start, which that was questionable. So both teams got it.
Well, you had 7 of the 20 penalties. You had 7 of the 20 penalties were resulted in a first down for the other team. So, I mean,
it was just one of those days where the refs they wanted to, like I say all the time, they wanted mom and dad to see I'm reffing the game on Thanksgiving. They wanted to be a part of the story.
Me, look at me.
Yeah, they wanted to be a part of the story. So it is what it is. All right, we're going to take our first break. When we come back, we got more we got to talk about. We'll dive into the offense and the defense and what they did well and not so well. We'll do that when we come back. DallasCowboys.com radio.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is, Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
What do you call a group of grown men and women with their faces painted silver and blue who get together every week to share a 3-hour-long ritual of jumping, singing, and toasting Miller Lite in 10-gallon hats while yelling, "How about them Cowboys?" You call it Miller Time in Dallas. Here's to the Cowboys. Here's to the original light beer. It's Miller Time. Celebrate responsibly. 2021 Miller Brewing Company, Fort Worth, Texas.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Home Ownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
The Cowboys are proud to nominate Dan Quinn as the 2022 NFL Salute to Service Award Club nominee. Join us in making sure he becomes a finalist for this prestigious award by voting at NFL.com/salute-fan-vote.
Welcome back. It is the second segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. This segment brought to you by blockchain.com. Let's talk about Dak Prescott. He was 21 of 30 Thursday, 70% completions. 261 yards passing, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, a 91.1 rating. How would you characterize his play overall that day?
Which half?
You got to do it as one. As one whole, how do you characterize it?
Play, in the second half, I thought he threw the ball really well. He had some nice throws in there, and he let his receivers go make plays. I mean, those receivers had to help for some of those penalties we just talked about, 5 yards here and there, and Schultz bails him out with a nice catch in the back. And I thought CD had an outstanding game, better than the numbers show because of all the penalties that he drew. I thought Dak had a good game, but in the first half, though, there obviously was a miscommunication. He thought that was going to be a free play with a defense.
Thibodeau jumps into the neutral zone. He should have got the call. It's one that Novak and them clearly missed.
Yeah. They did.
Wow, the one they missed.
Yeah, they're not going to call. Yeah. So I think
he clearly missed that. The line judge too decided it was on the Cowboys bench. The Cowboys were screaming, and you think you're going to get the free play out of that one for sure.
Yeah. I mean, it wasn't his best game, but he cleaned it up in the second half. He had a couple of those turnovers and
3 or 4 possessions at a touchdown.
Yeah,
it's pretty impressive.
To me, I'm all about getting Michael Gallup going any way we can here. And I think early in the first half, some of the catches that Michael Gallup was able to make, I thought were really some nice ones. Going to getting the football, making some adjustments, the route running, stuff like that. And Dak, as long as he can reward those guys for running great routes and throw the ball where it needs to be thrown, I'm all about that. I thought, when you look at the receivers overall, though, like I say, with Gallup, with Lamb, and the way that they're able to play, that to me is just a real positive. And these young tight ends, we can go on all day about them, but Dak, it's great when he can throw the ball to guys that are open. And there were a couple of plays that were contested plays that guys may catch. I mean, Gallup made a catch along the sidelines for a big play when Dak was sprinting on the outside. They blocked Noah Brown on the edge, and it's it's really one of those RPO kind of throws, and he's running to his right. It's a tight window throw, and he makes it. Gallup does a great job of not letting it get on him. That's what we always complain about, is that ball getting on Gallup and kind of getting knocked up in the air. But man, he went out and kind of got the hands up and stuff like that. So Dak put it on his receivers in this game. It was good to see it that way.
Yeah, I think this was just kind of Dak. I mean, that's just good old Dak and the way that he plays. But the interceptions, I was just looking at them again to get a reminder of how that looked. And I mean, on both of them, it wasn't necessarily his fault, really. I mean, on the first one to Gallup, he let me see. I wish we could see. Yeah. I don't know if it was maybe he threw it a little too early, or Gallup just wasn't quick enough in him turning around and all that. And then you look at the one with CeeDee Lamb, and that was a pretty contested ball, but it was more on CeeDee than I would say Dak. And it was just very well protected. Like the Giants defense did a good job.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about that. Holmes made a great play on the ball. He got around and knocked it in the air. The problem was that Tyler Smith was in his lap when he threw the ball. And people saying, oh, you're defending Dak. No, it's hard to step and throw a football when your offensive tackle is right there and you've already broke your damn thumb, on a play earlier in the year, with the guy in your face. It's so for him to step up and have to make that throw. Yeah, it was a little tight. I mean, they're like, we call it that cover 2 look, and the safeties both go wide, and then you get the other one come back. It's like they go wide and then they come back. Holmes knocked the ball in the air, man. I mean, he made a good play. He just turned around and he contested the ball. It's tough throw, tough play, but also on that throw, when you watch it, Dak can't step and throw because he's got Tyler Smith sitting right in his lap.
Yeah,
But-
final 2 minutes of the half, Dak to CD over the middle. No thanks. I've seen Bears interception,
Yeah.
Packers interception, and then this one. I mean, the Vikings. I mean, they can do. They did anything they
Is
wanted.
this
to.
where Mike needs to say as soon as Kellen brings that up?
No.
He's like, no, not right now,
no,
bro.
when you watch
not
the
happening right now.
When you see the all 22, you see why Dak made the throw because the safeties do go wide, and there's going to be a hole right there. Again, the problem is this was a tough game for Tyler Smith. I mean, Thibodeau came to play for the Giants, and I was talking to the Giants personnel before the game, and they're like, "Listen, Thibodeau's just been okay," and then all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, Thibodeau looks a lot better than okay."
Had 5 quarterback hits.
Yeah, he was a factor, and they had problems with the twist. They had problems with he had problems with late blitzes. Maybe it was one of those things again. No practice. You're out there playing. You're a rookie. Wait a minute. This guy blitzes 48% of the time. What am I doing out here? Kind of a thing. And not making excuses for the kid, but it wasn't one of his better games there at Tyler Smith for sure.
But what I really liked about Dak is that despite those 2 interceptions in the first half, I mean, they didn't shy away from throwing the ball and passing, and they were really successful in the second half in that. So that's an aspect that I think he did a really, really nice job. And he's the type of player that he stays very mentally there where he needs to be, but also in Kellen Moore, trusting him and his arm and not deciding to, okay, let's just kind of stick to the run and just run the ball all night. No, they did a really nice job in balancing the game and just trusting the passing game despite
for somebody, for a
first.
team that blitzes like the Giants do, to trust the passing game in that situation says a lot about the confidence they have in Dak.
There was an interesting moment in the first half. Actually, it was in the first series. At the end of the first series, Cowboys have the ball. They're moving it okay. They're at their own 40. And then they decide on 3rd and 2, they're going to throw the ball deep, incompletion. Then on 4th and 2, they decide to go for it. How did you like that decision? Was that the right decision in your opinion?
No, obviously not the right decision when he gets stopped. But 3rd and 2, I mean, it comes down to, I mean, I deal with this too. I watch college football. I'm just like, if you
that look of exasperation. Yeah. Go ahead.
If you decide what you're going to do, I just feel like 3rd and 2. If you're going for it on 4th down, I just don't think they're going to stop Zeke twice.
Right.
I don't believe that. Or they're not going to stop KJ twice, or whatever it is. Whoever your team is, you're not.
That's really what you want to say in the first place. Go ahead.
But it's the offensive coordinator and the head coach being on the same page, saying, all right, we're going for it here, and then just looking at it and going. And I don't think 3rd and 2 is this free play where you can just throw it deep, and then 4th and 2, you can get it. No, 4th and 2 is tough. It's a 2-point conversion. That's tough to get. So cut it in half or get it. Spread them out on 3rd and 2 and then run the ball. Maybe you get a yard. Maybe if you get stopped for a 2-yard loss, then you can punt it. Yeah. But I didn't like the call. I didn't like the 3rd down call if you're going to go for it on 4th down.
Yeah, and my thought on the 3rd down too is like if you're gonna pass it, I still want to take a higher percentage pass play. Don't give me a 50-50 ball on a 3rd and 2 if I know I'm going to go for it on 4th down. For me, I'm like, give me a ball that I think I can convert. If I don't, then I'll go for it on 4th and 2. But that's if you want to pass. But I agree with you. Running it twice, I feel like most teams, the Cowboys can convert that.
Yeah.
A 4th and if you give them 2 downs to get 2 yards, I think they can do it on the ground if they do it with Zeke.
Mm-hmm.
There are a couple 4th down plays in that game that could have been big plays. The one that the Giants missed on was a big play too. They threw to Barkley.
Yeah.
Man, that thing could have gone for a touchdown.
Yep.
I mean, Dallas was in trouble on that call.
Oh, the Giants had a lot of moments where
they
did.
did. I mean, you're looking at it like,
the Cowboys out.
Look out. But yeah, the thing about it was, I think on the 4th and 2, they're going to probably get it. The problem is that Hendershot. This is a tough one because I'm thinking if you watch the way the play was blocked, if he blocks down on Smith, they're probably going to run in behind it. It's going to be a first. Instead, he blocks wide, and he let Smith have a free run at the ball carrier. So if he just goes down inside and lets the furthest guy from the ball free, we've seen Zeke 1,000 times take the ball and fall forward for 2 yards. Yep. But it was one of those, like, you're thinking, okay, was it a bust or was there something going on here? I mean, it made me question because you don't let a guy inside. You don't let the linebacker Smith just have a free run on that play. You just don't.
I don't miss that guy at all.
Did y'all see the play?
Yes, where he thinks he's a wrestler.
How did he not get flagged for that? I don't.
Jalen Smith. We're talking about Jalen Smith, and if you gotta watch the whole play, not just the flying in the air, the people's elbow. He runs around here. He hits nobody.
Right.
Then he just runs over here and
the play's over.
I don't understand.
Maybe one of the best games he's played this year.
Yeah, I mean, he led them in tackling.
Yeah.
And there were some moments in the game where I was like, okay, Jalen's got a little something.
We heard his name a lot. I think more than what we used to hear
than you wanted
when
to
he
hear.
was with the Cowboys.
He's always flying in there.
We heard his name on the press box.
I just don't. I don't understand the thought process for him when he runs into a pile and just basically jumps in with his elbow. I don't get that. But I also don't understand how a crew that's penalizing everything decides, nah, that's good. That's football right there. Like it just didn't make sense.
You know what? The thing about it is, like old crusty guy like me didn't like going for it there because the fact that don't give the Giants any encouragement. Don't give them any reason to, punt it back, make them drive. Maybe they turn over the ball, and then you get the ball. I'm not helping the Giants in this game. They don't have any blockers. They don't have this. They don't have that. They don't have any real wide receivers. I mean, I'm just sitting there. I'm not doing anything to help them. I'm not giving them the ball right there, in case something happened. But, he's gone for it before on fourth down like that and made it every single time. So I've just kind of I just go, well, this is what analytics and stuff do. People say 4th and 1, fine. 4th and 2, I'm like, I don't know, man. I don't know. Especially we're not going to block maybe they thought, hey, we don't have to block Smith. He won't make the tackle. Maybe that's
we know him.
Yeah, maybe that was their thought. It's like the NBA, the 3-point guy. Hey, don't cover him. Don't worry about him shooting over here. He's not going to do anything.
But let's be honest. I actually like the fact that Mike McCarthy is aggressive when it comes to fourth downs. I want him to be aggressive. I just didn't love the play call on third down. Yeah. If you know you're going to go for it on fourth down.
Well, see, they tried to on the previous play. They tried to go max protection, and it kind of got a little the pressure. They got pressure on them, so they tried to go max in order to set it up to try and get the home run,
like they did in that first Giants game.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they tried to go max and set it up, and it didn't work. And then so now you're like, okay, 4th and 2, do you punt this? No, let's go for it. We're fine. We're good here. I'm like, okay.
Which I think once I get to that point, I probably do punt. But go ahead, Amber.
No, you said, why do that if you know you're going to go for it on fourth down? I guess that's something I never really thought about that much. But how much in advance, like how many plays ahead are you thinking?
Well, I mean, and that is, I think every coach, when you're getting to third and short, they're probably having that thought process of, are we going to go for it here on fourth? Because that does influence the kind of play that you should call on third down if you know you're going to go for it on fourth down.
To your point, the Green Bay game where they went for it on fourth down at the end of the game and had really a bad play, McCarthy clicked over. He told the media, I clicked over on second down and says, you got 2 plays.
Yeah.
So that helps Kellen in his mind think, okay, I got 2 downs to pick up this 2 yards. I've got 2 downs. I got to figure this out, And so that's usually when they click over that he'll say, hey, I'm going to go for it here, have 2 plays ready. And then that kind of lets them know.
And that put that back on Kellen of you're running the ball on them. Malik Davis is running the ball on them. Yeah. So is Pollard, of course. Why is not one of those a run?
Yeah.
That's what's frustrating back to that game. But
all right, we're going to take our final break. We'll come back. Let's talk about the defense, what the defense did well and maybe not so well. Then when we come back, DallasCowboys.com radio.
The season is finally here. For months, we've been gearing up to win. Now it's time for the team that performs on any field, United Ag and Turf. With John Deere zero turns for mowing, compact tractors for loading, mini excavators for digging, Gator utility vehicles for hauling, implements for grading, hay tools for baling. United Ag and Turf, for winning. The official Ag and Turf equipment supplier of the Dallas Cowboys. Visit UnitedAgAndTurf.com for more.
Todd thought it would be secure to jog in the cheetah savanna. Todd believed the big cat repellent he bought online was reliable. And now, Todd is trying to be faster than this cheetah that can run 80 miles per hour. But the good news is Todd has AT&T 5G that is fast, reliable, and secure. And he learned the best thing to do is stop running and toss her the backpack with the beef stew. AT&T 5G. Fast, reliable, secure. It's not complicated.
5G requires compatible plan and device. 5G may not be available in your area. See att.com/5G for you for details.
This sweet! Did you get to work on time?
Yeah, but I just realized it's Sunday.
Little Sweet says head on home. Dr. Pepper's on its way. So sweet, unique. Baby, there's nothing better. I bet you've probably done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper. Did you invest your nest egg in an NFT?
Yeah, and I don't even know what that is. It's a non-fungible token.
Everyone's done something that deserves a Dr. Pepper.
When you build, you start with the foundation. And home ownership is a foundation of a stable future. The Bank of America Community Homeownership Commitment has helped over 34,000 people lay the groundwork so far, with up to $10,000 towards your down payment or 3% of the purchase price, whichever is less. The satisfaction of owning your own place can become a reality. Visit bankofamerica.com/homeowner to learn more. What would you like the power to do? Bank of America N.A. Equal Housing Lender. Credit and collateral is subject to approval. Restrictions apply. This is not a commitment to lend.
Back to the break.
Live music fans, head to the Star in Frisco Tuesday, November 29th for a brand new monthly concert series, Sounds of the Star, featuring country rock band Western Rewind. The concert kicks off 7 p.m. It's free and open to the public. For more information, visit thestarinfrisco.com.
Welcome back. Final segment of the break, live from the SWBC Mortgage Studios at the Star. This is presented by Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. Let's talk about the defense. They held the New York Giants to 90 yards, rushing a 4.3 average. Saquon Barkley was held to 11 carries for 39 yards, 3.5 yard average. Have they solved the run defense? Have they solved it? Is it done? Is that a done topic?
Can we wait till next Monday? Jonathan Taylor comes down.
And a team that's committed to it like that? Yeah.
I think they've gotten better, but also the game and the scores kind of dictated that. But they did a nice job with Barkley. I thought they
they really did. That it's tough to deal with him, and knowing that. Man, I mean, the quarterback didn't kill him either in this game too. That's what some of the things. I thought the best chance for them to win, the Giants to win this game, was for Barkley to get like 150, and then maybe Daniel Jones having to rush somewhere between 80 and 100 yards themselves. I didn't think that they could drop back and throw the ball and be effective enough. But they did a great job of, and there were times where Barkley got screen passes and stuff like that, and they never let him get going. I mean, Leighton Vander Esch played really, really well in this football game. I mean, he was on point. His responsibility getting to Barkley, getting him on the ground. There were times there where like it was a third down play. They throw to Barkley on the screen. He keeps him a yard short. They have to punt. Those are the kinds of things that when you're playing against a back. This guy had like well over 1,200 yard scrimmage yards coming into this game, and so you always worry about that. But for him to only average 3.5 yards a carry, I'd say that was a big win for the Cowboys.
Yeah, there was a play where Vander Esch got blocked and he got knocked off his point, a little bit, and he still recovered and made the tackle short of the first down. I remember, and that happened. I feel like it happened a couple times.
It did.
Where he was blocked, but still fought off the block, made the play. I mean, anytime he's howling, anytime they got that going on. It feels like forever ago when that was happening. I mean, it is kind of strange to think, just 4 years ago, and him and Jalen are together, and you're thinking these are the two best linebackers in the league, and they're going to be paired up forever. And then 4 years comes by, and Leighton we thought was going to leave, and Jalen was cut, and Micah Parsons is linebacker or whatever. He's the best in the league. It's just weird how things can change kind of quickly.
Not for long.
Well, and if you go back to Vander Esch too, and I was looking at my notes, there was a time when in the game it was a third down play where he was in coverage, and actually they were too deep, and he went deep middle. I mean, he carried the inside guy all the way up the middle, and you could see Daniel Jones is trying to throw the ball in the middle of the field, but Vander Esch is so deep on the play and coverage that Jones just has to throw it away. The play was called, and that just shows you. He's playing around the line of scrimmage. He's making tackles. He's getting off blocks. On the goal line play, jumps over the pile, makes a tackle there. Times it perfect. That's just kind of what Leighton Vander Esch. This is the kind of game that's perfect for him. They're going to run the ball. They're going to try and run the ball. And he's going to have to, be playing a physical style of game, which he very well did.
Do you guys feel any better about Dallas's ability to stop running quarterbacks? They hold Daniel Jones to only 3 carries for 14 yards. I think there's 2 parts to that. One, that you held him to only running 3 times, which means he didn't see a lot of open lanes to be able to run, and then 14 yards on the times he did run. How do you feel about that?
I'll tell you what I did. Remember the play that Dallas got hurt on in week 3 where Jones, they're going to run the RPO going to the left and he sprints out, and then there's the tight end was over in the flat and he throws. Diggs adjusts to him, it comes up and he throws the ball in the flat. They tried the same play and Dallas defended it perfectly. And because Jones could have run and now he's like, oh wait, I can't run, and he just had to throw the ball away. That just shows you, though, when you're playing these RPO teams and stuff like that after you see them one time, you kind of see their best play, then you're like, okay, this is a down and distance that we could get. And sure enough, they try to run it where he sprints out. They're on top of him. He tries to throw it. It's incomplete because they had it covered. So those are the types. I think that's what the first game, he killed them running the football. Mm-hmm. This game, they didn't allow him to get going running the football because of the way they were playing in lanes and the way the linebackers were playing and the way they were playing in coverage.
Yeah, running quarterbacks with some dynamic receivers, I think that could be a problem. I think with the way those receivers, the Cowboys don't have to do a whole lot other than just cover them. They don't have to put a lot of zone defense, all that kind of stuff. But the problem is when you face like an Eagles team that has those receivers on the outside, and then they're going to have a tight end that will be back probably for that game. And then, of course, you've got the running back and the running quarterback, which we saw last night. There was a play last night early in the game where they send the running back in motion, and the linebacker just comes flying with them, and you're like, they just snap the ball, and Hurts has like a lane to run like 40 yards. We did exactly what we wanted you to do. You got your linebacker out of the way, and we go and make plays. So when you have a lot of weapons, I think that's what I'm trying to say. When you have a lot of weapons, it is going to be a lot harder for the Cowboys to stop the running quarterback, stop the running back, stop the 2 guys.
Something they will have to figure out, Dallas defensively, is what's going on with Anthony Brown. Because he gave up the big play, and he could have given up another big play. Look at
before too.
Yeah, exactly. And teams are attacking him. They're staying away. It's like, let's go after Anthony Brown here. So you're going to have to figure something out, whether it's the shade of safety. And I thought on the long pass play that they completed it down to the 1. I thought that Hooker was late, but when I watched the tape, Hooker couldn't have done anything about that. The ball was just really well thrown, and Anthony's just got to do a better job of playing the ball in the air. He's like he's losing track of it and stuff, but they're going to continue to attack him.
Do you guys think that the big plays that he does give up outweighs, I don't know if I'm saying it backwards, but there are a lot of other plays that I watch him, I'm like, oh, wow, that's pretty good. It just reminds me of okay, well, that's the reason he is where he's at, So it goes back and forth of okay, he does give up these big plays, but at the same time, he does protect the ball, some good plays. Mm-hmm. So which one does one outweighs the other right now? Or
I think personally, you can't be giving up 44-yard passes. Like a one-on-one like that. I understand there's going to be some great throws, and these receivers are big time, but you're going to play better receivers than what you played against the Giants. And I just wonder if somebody's just going to load up and say, he can't play the ball down the field. And now all of a sudden Dallas is playing great defense, and all of a sudden they need a big play, and then they launch one on him. That's the things I worry about, in these games.
Well, what I think saves him a lot is not many teams will get a lot of deep throw opportunities because this pass rush is so ferocious.
That's
what saves him. Ultimately.
And he's not going up against a lot of number ones because Diggs has got him.
Right.
Yeah.
So when you face those teams, like the Eagles, maybe the 49ers.
More than one. Yeah. Yeah, but that's the tough part of this thing is, or the good part for the Cowboys is, you can hide a little bit of deficient secondary play because your pass rush is so good.
Well, what are you going to do? me.
Right. I don't know. I'm just saying, maybe the safety, maybe it's one of those things where you're like, listen, Diggs is so good, we're going to play the safety in the middle of the field. We're going to shade the safety over, so at least you give Hooker the chance to have a run at it.
Yeah.
You know, like I thought Hooker was no help when he caught the ball. I'm like, Hooker's got to get over, and then when you watch on tape, it's like the route in the middle of the field kind of holds him for a second, and Hooker's not the quickest guy. He's just not. Yeah. And so that's a problem. But maybe you have to shade him over to that side just to give him a little bit better opportunity to make a run to help.
All right, we appreciate you guys joining us. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll start looking at the big picture of what's happening around the NFC. Right now, all the teams in the NFC East are in the playoffs as of this moment. And we'll talk about that and a couple other topics. We'll do that tomorrow. Till then, for Nick Eatman, Brian Broaddus, Amber Garcia, I'm Derek Eagleton. This has been The Break, live on DallasCowboys.com radio.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!